I'm Peyton.
And I'm Anna, and welcome back to our podcast.
Today, we're going to be talking about utilizing resources as college athletes.
And we're utilizing some pretty good resources right now, being in a long distance friendship right now.
It feels like a long distance relationship. I just,
Yeah.
I was thinking about, when I was on my flight to Nashville, the one next to me was a flight to Chicago. And I was like,
Um,
I'm just going to take that one.
where my heart's calling me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of a resource, but it's not really the direction that we're headed into. So we want to talk about how, as college athletes, the resources that you have disposable for you and that you can go discover on your own are honestly endless.
Yeah,
Like,
I think like going into college, I had no idea. First off, the resources start earlier than college, but I think noting them and knowing that they're there is really important. And I did not do that. So
yeah. So we kind of wanted to start with just identifying the different categories of resources that you can have. And we kind of broke it into academic, athletic, and mental/emotional. And all three of these are extremely essential to be a successful, not only college athlete, but a successful person. So honing your skills and being able to recognize the resources that are available to you will set you up for success for your entire life.
I think they all just like want to help us and they all want us to grow, not even just as athletes, but as people too. It's like I've already learned so much just by having conversations with these people and my resources that I feel like I've grown more as a person than I would have thought as a college athlete. So the
Mhm.
first one is our strength coach. Okay. This is a big resource that I did not utilize before becoming a college athlete. I don't know. We did do strength and stuff, but nothing like this guy. I could just ask him a question.
Yeah.
He'll give me the answer. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that. He'll give me like a detailed answer. I'm like, wow. I learned the
Yeah.
most like from our strength coach, which is crazy.
And it's so individualized with that too. I think especially at our school, we have not only the strength coach, but we also have like a sports scientist. We have our athletic trainer. We have our coaches, and they all are working together in that athletic category to be able to individualize and have and create the best experience for all of us. So I think that that's also super important to recognize is to find those types of resources that are willing to be so beneficial and so individualized for you because that's how you're going to become the best version of yourself too.
I think willing was like a good word because everyone there, like, they're all there for a reason. They put in the
Mhm.
time to help you, and they like most of them went through probably a lot of school. Like you said, sports scientist. Do you know how much
Hmm.
school I had to go through? And
Too
he's
much.
like, he knows, he knows almost too much. Like sometimes when I
Yeah.
speak to him, I'm like, whoa, slow down. What did you just say?
Yeah. It's like the smile and nod when he talks sometimes. I'm like, oh, nice.
Like, oh, I just said my calf hurt a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And he just asked how you're feeling, but then he goes into like a whole plethora of, oh, well, it's because of this and this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, nice. I'll just
Yeah,
take a nap later.
yeah, we actually do like a survey every morning of fall. So like
Hmm.
every time you wake up, you fill out the survey. It's like how many hours did you sleep? How good did you sleep? How sore are you? Or like
Yeah.
fatigued are you?
Yeah.
It was like,
How many hours did you? Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty simple and it takes like 2 minutes, but it's
and
really
then they
beneficial for
take
both
all of
ourselves
this,
and them.
yeah, they take all of this data and it's like it's crazy.
Hmm.
I don't know if we ever actually see the data, but to be honest, we don't really need to see it
Yeah.
because we know what
They,
it
yeah.
means. But
Yeah.
then they kind of like schedule our practices around like what our answers were. So if everyone's really
Hmm.
sore that day, we're obviously not going to do a big load. And then if everyone's like feeling okay, then it's like, oh, okay, we could do a little bit more today. And I think
Yeah.
that's really neat. That's something like behind the scenes that I never thought I'd get to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, well, those are resources that we have now, but I also think that being aware now, it makes me look back and we kind of want to emphasize how important it is to find good resources like these individuals before coming to college. Because imagine what we would be like if we had a strength coach or someone that was willing to help us get stronger before college. That would have been so awesome. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's super important for the younger listeners that are here to try and get yourself as strong as possible and try to find people that are willing and want to help you. Because for instance, one of my teacher from high school, he's one of the football coaches, but he as soon as I left for college, but I think he would have helped me out earlier if I just knew to ask. but he lets me go into the gym and he'll help me get stronger when I'm not at school. So that's another resource that I have built athletically that came from literally school. Like he was one of my science teachers. So being able to recognize and communicate with people to kind of discover those types of resources that you can create for yourself is also super important before college.
Yes, I agree. I think okay, so now we're gonna go to another type of
Hmm.
resource, which is academic. So do you
Hmm.
want to talk about this one?
Yeah. So here at Linden, well, not here, but at
No.
Lindenwood, where we both are normally, but not for the summer, we have specifically our athletic academic advisor, and we also have our normal academic advisors. But personally, I kind of like working with the athletic one more just because ours is a woman named Maya, and she's the best. She's so helpful. And we had one before named Chandler, and he was also the best. I have nothing but praise for these
Yeah,
people.
they're amazing.
And they go above and beyond. And I even went to ask her a question this year, and she was like, well, that's not supposed to be my job, but I can do it because they're just there to help you and they want you to succeed. And they know that creating your schedule or trying to find a class or a teacher that you want is not supposed to be one of your high stressors as a student, as a college athlete. So they know to prioritize you and help you achieve your academic goals because that's just as important as your athletic goals.
And I think this one definitely applies more to college. I don't think high schools really
Hmm.
have academic advisors too, because the advisors that are already there have less students. So it's like,
Hmm.
but I think even in college or even before college, it's a good idea to just kind of pay attention to your schedule and like you're kind of doing it all yourself right now. And like high school, everyone goes to school for the same amount of days. So it's not as
Hmm.
important. But then when you get into college, that is something you should not be stressing about. Me personally, I take a very broad major. Like at my classes, they don't really, you know, intersect with soccer practices. But some people, like my roommate, have really hard classes where her class is only offered a certain time during the day, and that happens to be the time that we're practicing. So I think having
Hmm.
like a athletic advisor that's more like they could search and see if there's other classes that are available. And then you also, by working with them, you're learning how to do that yourself
Hmm.
too.
Yeah.
Like take a load off. So,
Yeah. And we even have like one of our teammates, she is starting her nursing school next year, but they basically, she's not even her, like she just was starting the nursing program, the woman that she was working with, but she had worked out so that all the classes fitted along our soccer schedule because she knew that she was the only college athlete that she had and how stressful that is already. And she was able to prioritize her mental health, which is also, I think, all of these resources can kind of encompass to create a good mental health for you. But we also are going to touch on those types of resources that we have. But I think that that was super cool to know that someone that's supposed to just help with her school and class schedule is there to make sure that she has the best experience and gets the most out of it, which I think is super cool.
yeah. The next one, I would say this one is pretty broad, but it's just coaches in general.
Hmm.
This is another type of resource. I know, like, especially going into college, like, the coaches are scary. They only know you as a high school student, and they only know you probably with your parents. You probably went on a visit with your parents or, like, met them with your mom and dad. But coaches are, I think everyone's just kind of scared of them, but once you really get to know them and you work with them for a long time, then they kind of open up and it honestly makes it less scary. So we're both sophomores this year. Well, we're
Hmm.
basically juniors, but
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
so it's almost like this is like kind of weird to say, but it's almost like your coaches are your like coworkers. So like the
Yeah.
more
No,
I
it is. Yeah.
yeah, the more I'm working with my coaches, the more I learn about them and the more that I feel comfortable now when I'm with them.
Hmm.
And that is utilizing a resource because they're obviously there to help you. They're there to help the team. And then our coach, he always says that he wants to help you as a person first before he like looks at
Hmm.
you with the team, which I think is really nice because a
Yeah.
lot of coaches they kind of just they could possibly just see you as being a part of the team and not being like your own person. So I really
Hmm.
appreciate that he does that. And I only know that because I've gone into his office and utilized his help and he
Yeah.
genuinely was trying to help me.
Hmm. When he, our coach specifically, like so many praises for him prioritizing you as a person. Like
Mhm.
he's always reaching out to us with like coaching opportunities, which for me, because that's something I want to get into, I
Yeah.
100% appreciate because he has connections. He's been a coach for so long. And you don't even understand how one person can create so many different avenues for you. And I think coaching, the world of coaching, not even just soccer, but in any sport, is a network that I don't even, if you had to draw like one of those diagrams to
Yeah.
connect everyone, it would be never ending because everyone knows everyone. Everyone wants, I would say like 90% of the people I know from soccer are good people that they
Yeah.
want to help others out and they want to be a support system for others. So by understanding and getting to know your coaches better, you're creating another step up for you into the future that even if they don't directly help you get an opportunity or something, you can use them as a reference or you can use them as, oh, I know him, like, and use his experiences to help you grow as a person and a player, which I think honestly can start before college because,
Yeah,
like, even my
absolutely.
high school coach and even my club coaches, those types of relationships as they started to build were super, super cool to create. And the connections that I made and what I learned from them as resources was endless.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's any coach like ever, even my tennis coach in high school, she was like one of my references whenever I was trying to like get some
Hmm.
scholarships and stuff to help me with
Hmm.
school. Like she was one of my references and she like wrote this nice thing for me. She was also one of my teachers.
Yeah.
That's like besides the point.
Yeah.
And I feel like just being friendly with them and obviously like it is a workplace, so being like not too overly
Hmm.
friendly, okay? They still are your like coworker, not your.
Yeah.
And I feel like coaches in general, they're literally there for you. And once you
Hmm.
open your eyes and realize that they are the one of the biggest resources that you are just given, then it will help
Hmm.
a lot in the long run.
Well, and by knowing that they are there for you, they're going to one of the things our coaches he is always honing about is the amount of resources that he has brought in and how the school has helped us so much. Like we haven't even talked about our mental health coordinator yet. And we meet with her once a month and we just talk and we talk about the mental health skills and coping mechanisms and stuff like that that will again not only create a better experience as a college athlete, but going forward, those are skills that are going to be valuable for the rest of your life. So I think that by knowing that this one person can create so many other resources for you is kind of
Mhm.
the encompassing idea of this that we're talking about because you always want to better, you always want to be the best version of yourself, and you're not going to do that alone. And I think everyone needs to also recognize that part of it.
Yeah. So now we're gonna work, or now we're gonna move on to our mental health, which you just kind of hit on. I think this
Hmm.
is a big field. This is one of my favorite fields, actually. Fun fact, I was gonna go to school for psychology. I was gonna major in that. I was actually gonna try to double major, but that did not happen. I do really like
It's a little rough.
I love learning about like the brain and stuff, but mental health is something that is growing a lot, which we do want to do a whole episode on mental health, so we're not going to get too much into it. But I feel like
Hmm.
it has been growing a lot as like in athletes because I feel like I know when my parents were younger, they were just like that wasn't even a thing. Like,
Hmm.
we didn't go to therapists or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a really important thing that I'm glad that the light is being put on it because it's really
Hmm.
and mental health. We have a coordinator. Her name is Becky. We're hoping to get her on the podcast.
Yeah, she's
But
awesome.
yeah, and I actually went to a like conference thing. Like I drove to Nashville, Tennessee, and I met with like people from other schools in our conference and we talked about resources and like what our schools do to better our athletes. And I was actually one of the only people to bring up mental health. None of them had any other, like, they did not have
Hmm.
coordinators, they did not have a Becky. And I felt like that was really disappointing, but everyone is working on getting one because they were really intrigued by the fact we had one. We could genuinely
Yeah.
meet with her anytime. I know like a couple of our teammates go and just see her as like a therapy session, which is great. Like, is
Hmm.
that something we're going to get into later? Is like noticing when you need help.
Yeah. And it's not even on the like, and the earlier that you can recognize, not even that you need help, but that having a strong mental foothold is super important as a college athlete because it
Like
is true.
foothold. That's
Yeah,
nice.
you have to have a, but you need one. So it's
Yeah.
important. And I think that the earlier you can recognize that and kind of start building those skills and use resources, because even in high school, we would have people talk about it, but it wasn't taken seriously.
Yeah.
So I think that knowing yourself and knowing that there are people like Becky out there and that the world is growing is super important. Like even when you're looking at colleges, ask that as a question to the coaches that you're talking to. Like, what is your mental health support like? Because it's okay to ask questions and ask the question because they'll either have an answer or they'll find an answer for you. And even if they don't have one, imagine what you could have started by asking that question. Maybe they'll go find one because they know that that's a priority for them.
Right. And this also goes into, like I said, recognizing when you need help. And I know that's easier said than done, but
Hmm.
I feel like really getting to know yourself, whether it's literally just going to a therapist for that reason, or like seeing someone to help you, or just, learning more about yourself as you go through this experience, that's when you start utilizing your resources a little bit more by like opening your eyes about it. Like, for example, I would never go to our athletic trainer, there to help you feel if you're feeling sore or whatever. I've never gone to one before college because I would just suck it up. I would just be like, well, I have a game
Hmm.
tomorrow, like I need to play. But I could have been at like 100%. I was really at like 50 because I just
Yeah.
tried to suck it up. And
Jeez.
yeah, I was like injured. I had like a sprained ankle going through regionals, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is rough.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like that is something in athletes, though, our stubbornness and our ego.
Hmm.
That is like the biggest drawback for athletes. Well, it could be good, but in this situation, it's bad. Where you just like
Yeah.
you're stuck in your old ways. I was like, I don't really want someone to think I'm weak. That is a
Yeah.
terrible mindset to have, by the way. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I did have it for a long time. And I was like, I'm not going to ask for help because then people are going to think there's something wrong with me.
Hmm.
So,
No, I think that's also like the independence
yeah.
of being an athlete and the competitiveness because like honestly, you'd think it's a weakness to be going and asking for help because you should be able to do it on your own, but that's not the case at all. If anything, the people that I know that are the most successful and the strongest, they utilize all of their resources. Like you see the professional athletes, they stay after, they're working with other coaches, they're working with analysts, they're working with strength coaches and video coaches. They're using all the resources they're given not only to make themselves the best version of themselves, but the organization that they're with, it makes them the best version of themselves. And I
Yeah.
think also a huge part of that is academics. I think that's really hard for people sometimes to want to ask for help because it's just school and
Yeah.
you're an athlete. So you shouldn't need help with
Right.
school because your main priority is to be an athlete, but you're called a student athlete for a reason, and not succeeding in school will not help you succeed anymore in athletics as well. So, kind of knowing to get over yourself and use the people that you know because you are given the resources as an athlete to become the best version of yourself. So, even just asking your coach, like, oh, I'm struggling, can you point me in the right direction? That's the first step. And you need to kind of know yourself to know when that step is needed to be taken.
I also think it's like realizing that everything goes hand in hand. Like, why do you think these resources are here for you? It's because
Hmm.
like we know you need them. Like, we even have a nutritionist, and he comes in and talks to us about like the food that we're eating because I, again, never thought of that. I was like, oh, I used
Yeah.
to, when I was younger, I could just eat McDonald's before a game and just be fine. Like, it didn't. And then, like,
Yeah.
as you get older, your stomach develops and you can't do that anymore. Some people can still do that.
Yeah. I do know some. Yeah.
Yeah, that is rude, but whatever.
Or like a
So,
milkshake before, but
yeah, most people cannot though. So, like,
yeah.
just learning about nutrition and how that affects you, just with all of these resources, knowing what affects you, because also everything is just so personal. Even though
Hmm.
these resources are like, they're not generic, like, they're here to help you. So, it's
Yeah.
like,
And you also, yeah.
yeah, it's your own journey.
Yeah. And you also need to know how to prepare for those types of conversations. Like when we have these meetings with our nutritionist, our coach is always like, have your questions ready, know what you want to learn. Because if you're just going in there, that's okay too to start, but eventually you kind of need to understand what you want to learn and what will benefit you the most. So you need to kind of know who has the information that you need. And by discovering that, you're going to do research and learn more things for yourself, which is going to create even more knowledge for yourself. And then you're going to go pick their brain for whoever you're going to go talk to, in this case, the nutritionist. And then from there, you're going to be able to educate others. So if others are like, oh, I don't know what to eat, what am I going to do? And they're like, even if it's just a friend venting to you, you can be like, oh, well, I learned this. And you can give them the small bit of knowledge you have, but then you can also point them in the right direction. And not only will you make a good connection with that friend that's asking, but like, again, using the nutritionist, our nutritionist will think, oh, that's awesome that she felt comfortable enough and that she learned enough that she pointed someone else in my direction. And again, a full circle of you creating a whole entire like family tree of resources
Yeah, you
because
turning
you're,
into the resource.
yeah, which
That's
is
actually,
something that is a full circle that you need to create in all of these relationships.
that is so funny that you just said that because that exact thing actually happened to me with my grandma.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
day she
Well,
asked
she's
me,
using her resources.
yeah, she was starting like a diet and she's been on it for a little bit. And she was like,
Hmm.
I'm just so tired all the time. I don't know why. And I was like, oh, what is the new diet you're on? She goes, oh, I'm like not eating carbs. I was like,
So no
oh, well,
energy.
carbs are your source of energy. Like that is,
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
you're tired. It was really, so that's actually really funny that you said that. And I think this goes with not being scared to ask questions, which
Hmm.
I'm still scared to ask questions sometimes. Like if I'm just meeting that person, I'm a little bit nervous, but asking questions can only help you. And I'm not saying that there is no such thing as a dumb question. There's definitely such thing as that. But like just asking, questions that you think could help you. I feel like
Hmm.
it's kind of at our age, it's over where you're asking questions that could help someone else. I think you should be asking questions that you genuinely want to know because
Hmm.
then you look interested and because you are interested. But I think when you're younger, I feel like I used to just ask questions just like to show people. I'm like, oh, probably someone wants to know this. So I'm going to ask this question. But yeah,
Yeah.
asking questions because the people that are there to educate you, that's what they want to do is they want to educate
Hmm.
you. So leaving no question unanswered is their goal. So I think
Yeah.
that's the thing to note.
Yeah. And that's the only way you're going to learn because especially moving on from college athletics, like you're going to have to go to an interview, you're going to have to make connections with people to find a job.
Yeah.
So by being able to find connections and create confidence in asking questions and knowing these skills of understanding who's who, what they know, and how you can learn from them is
Yeah.
something that'll be so beneficial in your professional career after soccer or whatever athletics are going on as well.
So that kind of ties into our next point is networking. I think this is a great point. Getting those connections early on. I'm gonna
Mhm.
have Anna talk about this a little bit because she's recently been networking, but just like
Yeah, I'm a LinkedIn
yeah,
fiend.
yeah. I don't have a LinkedIn page, but that is a good thing to get, I've heard.
Yeah,
So I'm not
it
practicing
is.
preaching here, but I feel like networking could start even when at any age, when you're younger, when
Hmm.
you're older, because like my kindergarten teacher, this is so random, but my kindergarten teacher, she went to my graduation party. Like we networked so
Hmm.
hard. She went to my graduation party. I was such a good student that all of my teachers would like talk about me, and then everyone wanted me to be in their classroom.
Yeah.
Eventually, like someone wanted me to be on their soccer team. Like
Hmm.
networking can open so many doors for you as a person and an
Hmm. Well, kind of before we get into networking too, we also were talking about how important it is to leave a good impression and be
oh,
your authentic self because the way that she was able to do that is by being herself and creating a good impression because she knew that these relationships, even though she was little, she knew that it was the right thing to do to be
I knew.
making these
I'm smart.
connections.
I knew what
Yeah,
I was doing.
she knew. And who knows, like even like 10 years down the line, Peyton wants to be a teacher. She can reach out to these people and say, I'm looking for a job. I can't find anything. Is there, even if there's not a job in this district, they know people and they will help her.
This has
So,
already happened. I've already had people come up
yeah.
to me and ask me when I'm graduating because they're just like, "Oh, I'm retiring at this age, so like you can have my job." I'm like, "Yes."
You're like, okay, perfect. I'll graduate
That's why I don't have a
the
LinkedIn
next year.
because I got the
Yeah, it's
connection.
fine. Well, and we also, because, well, being a teacher is a little different, but
Yeah, yeah.
my degree's in the business. So, like, I need to make connections. But luckily, I want to go into the sports world. So one of the connections that we have is our strength coach that we were talking about. His wife works for the Cardinals. Like that's if that's not fate, I don't know what is. But it's crazy that the person that you're handed, he's created another avenue for me to learn, to grow, and to be creating opportunities for myself. So that's where LinkedIn I think is super cool, but that's more on the professional side. And as an athlete, that's not as important, but I do think that it's important to understand in the recruiting world and growing up, it's super important, like Payne was saying, to network and create these relationships that are going to benefit you in the long run. Like the reason my coach knew about me was from a different coach. So I think that that is already an example that's necessary for all athletes because coaches talk, parents talk, and everyone talks.
Yeah.
So any secret that you have or any way that you act is never going to be a secret. So it's super
Exactly.
important to create good relationships and utilizing resources and being confident and asking questions is something that people love. So if you start doing that before college, you're going to be set up so successfully because people are going to say, "Oh yeah, this girl was so attentive. She was so interested in what I was saying." And that's such a valuable skill to have when networking and when creating those relationships.
Yeah, and I was also going to add on to her story about our strength coach and his wife. So we utilized another resource here because we went to a job panel that our school was hosting. We went to this event. Not many people went, but it was just like a couple different jobs. I think there was like a nurse, business.
Yeah.
I don't actually know all the jobs.
It
I was
was basically
honestly there for the
yeah.
experience because I already know I want to be a teacher and there was no teacher that was going to be there, which is fine. Whatever. I knew
Mhm.
I just kind of wanted to learn, but we utilized that resource. She learned about our strength coach's wife, who was one of the job panel people. And then afterwards she stayed and talked to her. Like that's something that is scary, but she sucked it up and she did it and now she
Mhm.
LinkedIn friends.
Yeah, we're LinkedIn friends. And every time I've seen her now, I've had a great conversation with her. And it was only myself, our roommate, and one other guy. And there was like
Oh
six
yeah.
professionals there. No one else had stayed to talk to them. Granted, like for in Payne's instance, it wouldn't have really been beneficial, like
I still did not
professionally to do anything.
honest.
Yeah. But many like it would have been beneficial, but and not like Payne said, it was nervous. My heart was probably at like 180. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's something like she offered that if I ever needed help getting an internship or something, she'd be there. And like just so many of these resources and connections are awesome. And I know also that wouldn't have had the same effect if I also didn't work hard and wasn't a good athlete for our strength coach because he probably would not have been like
You'd be like,
encouraging this introduction. Yeah. And she probably wouldn't have continued connecting with me
yeah.
if I had created a negative relationship with our strength coach. So again, it's all connected and it's all super important to create these strong relationships and be the best version of yourself in that.
Yeah, and these are some resources that we've grown up and been given, but now we're going to talk about some resources that have been like the base, so your parents and your family.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely noticed, I'm sure everyone we call it, politics in your hometown or whatever. You guys all have that family that sticks out and is just like they rule the town. Do you have that in your town?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Well,
everyone
we definitely
thought
have
of
like in different groups.
right. And
Yeah.
you all thought of those groups of people and those families that are like popular, everyone knows them, okay? These are the resources, the base resources that you've been given. So, like my mom and my dad, those are the base resources. The people that I know through them, like our family, friends, those
Mm-hmm.
are also resources because these are what like your parents set you up for success. So, whatever I'm doing, I'm texting my mom and asking her if I'm doing it correctly. And that's
Yeah.
utilizing a resource, whether you think about it or not, whether she thinks like that or not. It
It's
is
just like, why is my
it's my
daughter texting me
resource.
so
Okay.
much?
Yeah. When I got into a car accident, guess what I did? FaceTime my
Oh,
mom.
yeah,
That's my
it
resource.
works.
I didn't know what to do.
Well, and also with that, you have your siblings too, which I think are super important. And because they're there as well. And then that's how you make friends, your neighborhood friends. You guys are all hanging out. And
Yeah.
even now, like my neighborhood friends, they all played soccer. I like it's crazy how interconnected the world is, and that's how you first build those skills to build these relationships and network with them.
This is horrible, but I have an older sister. Anna is the oldest, so she can't relate here. But I have an older sister, and she's 2 years older than me. So we were in high school at the same time. This is something that I utilize my resource very well because everyone knew me when I came into high school. So I was like popular in high school, because they all knew my sister. That's really
Yeah.
what it was. So then once high school hit, my sister and I did not get along. But once high school hit, I was like, well, I need to start being friends with her because this. But that is, like Anna said, a resource is having your siblings because some of her friends turned into my friends and
Mhm.
not really vice versa, but it could be.
Yeah. It works out how it is, and life you have lifelong friendships, so
Right.
it doesn't really matter. And and you always have your sister, so that's a good thing because
Yeah,
no
she's
matter what
really
you do,
nice.
yeah, it's always trial and error. So you can work out on these questions and networking with people that you know you'll always have, and then you can go try them on the real people.
I just recently
Um,
did this because I got a job at Cold Stone. My sister used to
yeah.
work there, and I barely even got an interview. She was just like, "Yeah, when can you start?" Because she knows my sister. So I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay,
Yeah.
straight up."
Yeah. No, I can that also happens to my siblings all the time. So they're not as yeah. They've definitely embraced it more, but it's a good resource and it's something that's
I
helpful.
embrace it. I think
Um,
embracing it is smart.
yeah. Well, and so moving on kind of from people though, we did want to touch on the internet and how great of a resource that is because Peyton, well, I'm a TikTok user, but not same as Peyton. But I definitely go on TikTok, Instagram, all of it because if I'm looking even for just an ab workout or like an arm or like I just want to do something in the gym because I'm bored of my soccer workout, I'll just look up like
Oh
quick
yeah.
30-minute workout for an athlete and endless videos show up. You can do that for food, you can do it for workouts, you can do it for books. I use TikTok all the time for book recommendations. Anything you need, the internet is there. Not even just on TikTok, but you have Google. Anything you need is on the internet. If you don't want to connect with people or if you want to find those people to connect with, they're on the internet.
I think the most recent internet edition has been Chat GPT. Um,
Hmm.
this I actually saw something the other day that was like, this girl doesn't Google anything anymore. She goes to chat and like types it. That's excessive. Okay. I think you need to know how to use your resources like this, like the internet, because
Yeah.
there's also obviously the internet is a good place, and then there's also things on the internet
Hmm.
that's not real, like AI.
Yeah.
That's not real and it's hard to
Yeah.
tell. But I will say, yeah, I use TikTok. I know a lot of people have jobs now because of the internet. So like,
Hmm.
influencers, which I want to be, but it's fine. It hasn't been working out.
It's a journey.
It's a
That's a
it's
journey.
a
It's just a journey. You're getting there.
yeah, I'm getting there.
It's when
But
when you become a teacher, you'll have your like
yeah,
niche audience, and then it'll be fun.
yeah. I don't think it will ever be my main source of income, but that'd be cool. But that is like something that is newer to the world is that there's now jobs via the internet. And
Hmm.
whether you like it or not, it's happening, honestly. But I think also I Pinterest has always been around, which is just like ideas
Hmm.
for things.
Yeah.
Some people look at the internet in a bad light, but I just think it's the world nowadays. Like I don't think it should be looked at
Yeah.
negatively. Like everyone just uses it now. It's
Hmm. And
really
it's also
yeah, whoever came up with it, I'm baffled. It's so smart. I'm like, how does
I
it
mean, I always just think about that, like how long ago when the internet wasn't a thing, or like so many things. I'm just like, who sat there and was able, like, it just doesn't, it blows my mind, and it like hurts my head to like sit and think about it honestly for a
I
while.
was I asked my mom this the other day. How did she know when she was scheduled to work? Like she said
Paper,
she
I don't
had to
know,
go to the place and like they had this schedule on there. I was like,
like on the
what if you
corkboard or
worked far
something. Yeah,
away?
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, and even that's another form, like communication, not even just the internet and using your resources, but so many people use your
Like right
phone,
now.
yeah, this is how we're able to do this because we're not together and we're not able to be with each other. So we have to use the internet for forms of communication. And even
Yeah.
professionally, people do interviews over the phone.
Yep.
So that's how you're making connections. I've had to do like school projects with people that are like states away and just I have to call them and talk to them. So that's another resource that I don't think anyone's denying it, but people I think should utilize it more. Like send a text with a question if you have it. Don't be afraid to like your athletic trainer or your coach just be like, oh, hey, blah, 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 I have this question. They'll answer and utilize that to make you the most profit. It's kind of like profitable. Your knowledge is profit. You're learning
Yeah.
more by utilizing more resources.
I think like also that goes with almost getting over yourself in a sense, like
Hmm.
because once you get over yourself, you're kind of just like, oh, there's no harm in just Googling this question or asking my friend really fast, like what that means.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also communicating with other people, even if it is behind a screen. I'm sure eventually you won't be behind a screen when you're communicating,
Yeah.
hopefully. But I think the internet is a good thing in that
Hmm.
sense. Obviously, there's bad places, but I think it's a good thing for
Hmm.
connections and communicating. So social media, that's an example of getting over yourself. I want to be TikTok famous. I'm posting a TikTok every single day.
Yep. Maybe more than one.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time
But
I
also,
post two
yeah.
a day.
Well, but it's also helping like your skill creatively, your skills are growing, and even these skills talking on the phone,
Yeah.
because eye contact over the phone and attentiveness over the phone is completely different than in person. And you
Yeah.
need to have those skills. Again, as jobs are moving online, everything is moving online. You have college coaches, you talk to them on the phone for the first time.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to know how to do that. And the only way you do that is by using your resources and learning from people.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, well, we've reached our time, you guys. Thank you for unfolding resources with us, and we hope that you guys learned a lot and are feeling a little more confident moving forward and wanting to grow your resource tree.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Fun.